The study found that Republican-leaning kids were more open to visiting a Democrat-supporting household. The Democrat-leaning kids were about 5 times more likely to say they would not want to go to a pro-Trump house.
Would they be okay with you going over to somebody's house who is really supportive of President Trump?
No.
No? And why not?
Because they know that he's not like black people, so they will not be happy to see me.
Would your family let you go over to somebody's house who's really supportive of Donald Trump?
No.
No, they wouldn't?
No.
And why not?
Because, like, my mom and dad don't like Donald Trump at all. Not a single bit.
Would you be okay going over to somebody's house whose family really likes Kamala Harris?
I think it'd be fine. It's just about the personality of the people.
Did you guys hear that?
What's
Sorry,
the first
there's
word
no sound.
head when you hear what's the first word that pops into your head when you hear the name Kamala Harris?
Liar.
What
I love it. What is up, everybody? I hope you're having a wonderful evening. I hope you're safe out there with this hurricane out there that is crazy. I'm getting wild rain here, but nothing else too bad. But hey, if my power goes out and I disappear, hopefully we had a good show before then. But until then, good to see you all. Who's first tonight? Hobbsy, numero uno, Big Sweet, XRQ is Trace, Oscar in the house, and Vince Felice. Fifth, Vinman. Not quite. You made 6, buddy, not 5th. And you were the first member, though, so something for that. Danielle, Blue 5. XRQ asks, chances that Kamala drops or is dropped from the race percentage? 0%. 0. Votes are already going in. It is too late. It's too late. They missed their window. Kamala is the candidate, and they are stuck. Kathy, what is up? Troy Mann, Daniel Crawford, Scarpazza, Walkovich, BN Pro, Marco Draven, Darren Collins, Pat Shagoya, Frank Anastasio, Dar Daddy, Phil Haynes from the flooded state of Florida. You better be careful out there, bud. BB Vision, Hero at Large, Chad C. Oh, to Dubois. Yes, the one Oscar. That's awesome, man. How's Dubois this time of year? Dubai, not Dubois. Dubai. It's not French. It's great in Pensacola. Oh, that's good. Dardate's a monster. Midnight with the 5 memberships to start it off tonight. Real Clever Fox, Retail Revolution, Bob Loblaw, Loblaw. Sea Suitor and Wix Music is now in. Congratulations, guys. You guys now get members lives. Welcome, welcome. Marco's in California. Best state in the country. Ugh, most beautiful state. I don't know if you could say it's the best anymore. Don't think storm's an accident. Looks like Florida and Georgia are being punished a little early for that. I think being punished this early would be bad because now they're going to have to deal with the government. That's going to lose votes. That's going to lose votes. 5-star, what's up? And yes, thoughts and prayers to everybody affected. And how about them Eagles? I mean, you guys have barely won your 2 games and choked away the other one. I don't want to be too excited yet. Just like I'm not excited about my team right now, but it is what it is. Anyways, guys, tonight, there's a lot of crazy stuff going on out there. Lots of crazy stuff. So we're going to cover the latest today, the latest and greatest, including things really, really ramping up as far as intensity. And why? Because Trump's winning, and he's winning handily. So we're going to cover that tonight. We're going to cover how because he's winning handily, the threat ratios are ramping up, but so is Trump talking about others and what he's going to accomplish as far as going after people and putting stuff out there, which, my friends, tells me a major storm is coming in our government and our nation. There is going to be a deep cleansing coming soon, and we got to see through this election because, and I think they know, we're at the door to make it through. So the storm is coming, and I think it's here. I think we're at the beginning of some wild times, and it's almost like this hurricane is prophetic. It's like, here's a glimpse of what's coming to our nation in the form of everything else. So buckle up. And what I hope that means is the good and righteous are fine and just stuff's wiped out as a result. I don't know if you guys remember, I think it was back in 2017 when that massive hurricane hit Houston. And when it hit Houston and wiped out everything, by some miracle, I don't understand fully how it happened, but there was a great unearthing of all this trafficking that had been going on in Houston. And all of a sudden, all these kids and women were saved and set free. And it was like this massive exposure in Houston because of this massive hurricane. So sometimes it's amazing. It's amazing what can be used in these storms. But I think the storm coming is much bigger than just what's happening in the rain right now. Smash that like, says Dar Daddy. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Doug Peterson, what is up? Excited about the election stocks. There you go. Trump's winning as much as the Steelers. Unlike the Steelers, though, he'll see it through to the end. Sorry. So, Trump's a quarterback. They don't have a quarterback. Lou 5. Well, if Russia don't nuke us, her and the radio, our government's figuring out what happened if 2/3 of the government disappeared. They were planning a mass casualty event transition the other day, which was kind of weird in the timing, but I also don't think it's that unusual for that to happen when government's getting ready to turn over. So the blacks became homeless and Larry David took them. Vin Man, wow. Vin Man, that's oh my God, that's Curb Your Enthusiasm season 6. I just watched that episode. That was Katrina. That's so funny. Yeah, Trump's talking to Zelensky. Zelensky actually wrote him a letter the other day to tell him he wants peace. And now ask yourself, why is Zelensky writing Trump letters? Ask yourself there. You're here. Your car's almost floating, Phil. Take care of yourself, man. If you got to get out, we're not going to judge you for it. All right. I got something on that I wanted to bring up real quick. Here it is. All right. Speaking of Zelensky, it's not just him. Foreign leaders are now seeking meetings with Trump as knife edge election nears. British, Emirati, and Qatari leaders met with Trump or were scheduled to do so this week during travel for the UN General Assembly. Why? Why would world leaders want to meet with the loser? Why would world leaders want to meet with somebody who has no chance? This is strange. And I'm not saying it's the first time a candidate has ever met with world leaders, although hasn't happened a lot. It happens occasionally, but they don't usually seek them out. And this is pretty clear. They are seeking out to talk to Trump. And this is the Washington Post, okay? This isn't some right-wing, edge of nowhere magazine that's trying to create stories for right-wingers to get all excited about. That's the Washington Post saying this. And they're not happy about it. So Zelensky writes him a letter. World leaders reaching out to him. Ask yourself why. Maybe because they're understanding what's going on in the polls, on the internal polls, which are the real polls. I don't know. Maybe. Look at this. Okay. This is how bad our elections are. And yet, even with this, Trump was within range in Michigan. 83.5% of Michigan's entire population is registered to vote. Only 77% of a given population is over the age of 18. So unless Michigan has the oldest population in the United States by far, they have 6.5% extra registrations. Interesting. And yet, they can still barely pull off these wins. This is not new, friends. This was happening in 2020 and 2016 as well. We're just paying attention now. So when they purge voter rolls and other stuff, that's pretty crazy. But the good news is we don't even need Michigan. We don't need it. In fact, my sources inside the Kamala Harris campaign are telling me their internal polls show them losing Georgia, North Carolina, Arizona by a landslide. Guys, if they lose those, Trump really only needs to pick off one more, 2 more smaller ones. I mean, and there's no way there's a clean sweep of Kamala of Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, Nevada. There's no way she's sweeping all those. Not with what we got going on right now. If it's a landslide there, things are getting very ugly for Kamala. And it seems like the world leaders know it. Corey Jones, when am I going to start the free Eric Adams petition? That won't be happening, my friend. The one, what to do? Mantan, hopefully not hit again in Houston. You have to fix pay to fix fences. Oh, man. Randy, we're not talking about the Bengals. Dar Daddy, if they push the button, there'll be nowhere to run. Blake Eister, what's up? It has been a minute. How you doing, friend? Luckily, power's still on, only heavy winds. Is it still a Category 4? That's what I heard last. Need Finger and GTI to lead us to Valhalla. You sound like a war boy from Mad Max. Marco, by the way, you're working the elections. And like me, I was not a fan of Trump in the past, but now I am. I love it, Marco. You've been won over. Where's my Rush Limbaugh? Remember every time a Rush baby was born, when somebody was liberal became conservative and Rush would play the sound, the like angelic sound. I should have one of those for you because you're in now. Little harp sing right there. Trump's going to tell Logan Chol it's over for him to find out. Zelensky wants more human and money and human blood. Zelensky is trapped. And Zelensky is a puppet. He's a puppet of world powers, especially in the West, that were using Ukraine. They installed Zelensky and they said, let us have free reign of your country. Let us have access fully to trafficking, to laundering our money, to biolabs. Let's do whatever we want in your country and we'll make you rich and powerful. And Zelensky said, sure, cool. Zelensky doesn't care either way except for himself. And you know what he's starting to see? He's starting to see that it's all falling apart for him. Russia has been whooping Ukraine ass now for 2.5 years. They have no chance of winning that war, no matter how much money we throw at them. He was used to try and start World War III. So far, Putin didn't bite. They're still trying to get it done before this election. I don't think it'll happen. I think Putin's too smart. And now Zelensky's freaking out. And that's why he's reaching out to Trump, because he just wants to preserve himself. Paulion says, Charlie Kirk was saying North Carolina's starting to reverse. Kamala's closing the gap and we could lose North Carolina. Charlie Kirk said that? That is not what I'm seeing, especially not with them cleaning up their voter rolls. In fact, let me bring that up while you're, since you just brought that up. All right, let me bring up the, where is it? Yeah, this pretty much ensures that there's no way North Carolina loses. North Carolina Election Board just revealed they have removed 750,000 names from the voter rolls. That's 750,000 peeps in a state where there's only 15 million people, in a state that Trump won by 1.5 points in 2020. He's more popular now, and in 2022, they elected such a massive red wave of House delegates and senators, state senators, that the governor is completely rendered useless, and the Republicans can overturn every single one of his vetoes, which they've been doing and making the state much more red. And that was before they removed 750,000 names from the voter rolls, including 130,000 dead people and 290,000 registrations that were duplicates. I wonder why those were there. You think? And they still couldn't turn North Carolina. Republicans filed a lawsuit showing 225,000 names were unlawfully allowed. This purge of 747,000 is just the number purged in the last 20 months. And it means it might not include the names challenged by the Republican Party. So there could still be another 225,000 removed. That would put us up to almost 1 million exactly. Guys, when that happens, Democrats don't win elections. So, I don't know what Charlie Kirk's saying. I don't. I have not heard that myself. I don't watch Charlie. I like him. I don't watch his show. So I don't know what he's hearing, but everything I'm seeing and hearing is absolutely the reverse of that. Now, we might lose the governorship because of the stuff going on there, but we'll see. Rum Dog, good evening. Think the world is tired of the woke BS out of the USA? 100%. Writing a letter bypasses the CIA and FBI. Good point, Hero. Unless they found it on the way in. What's the chance a hedge fund manager or owner is on a P. Diddy tape? Oh, I'm sure it's pretty high. P. Diddy's going to get Epstein by Oprah? Oprah, you mean? You guys are jumping on my stuff early tonight, but that's fine. I'll just jump around with you because I can see that you guys are feisty and got lots of takes. Speaking of Diddy's lawyers confirmed he's prepared to testify in court, potentially exposing other high-profile figures in an effort to reduce the sentence. Diddy is a squealer. Do you remember in The Dark Knight when the Joker sees the guy who the Chinese guy who launders all the mafia's money? He's like, that, my friends, is a squealer. I always know him. He's got a squeal. That, my friends, is Diddy. He's a squealer. He's going to squeal. So, if they're going to Epstein him, they better do it fast. Because if he's already agreeing to this, guess what that means? That means he's already giving up names as they are sitting there in a dark room behind the scenes saying, talk to us, write it out. We want it written. We want your name on it. That's already happening right now if this is true. And so if he's going to get Epstein, it's going to be fast. I kind of think he might not get Epstein because I kind of think something else is going on here, but we'll see. Do I think NT could be in play? What's NT? Yes, the one. Any word on those missiles given the cartel? We're going to get over there too. Blake Eister is still Cat 4. Happy to be in the clear this far. Pumped to see RFK team up with Trump. Man, yeah, it has been a while since you've been on here. That's old news, but yes, me too. Technology, when your daughter was 13, actually won a writing contest that Rush held. Are you serious? That's amazing. Cassink, just watched a video of Candace Owens. She found Kamala's grandma. Yeah, we talked about that last night. Thank you, Cassink. Marco, hope Putin doesn't take the bait and praying he waits until Trump wins by a landslide. Want us all to be rich and happy. Amen. I don't think Putin will take the bait unless, there's one unless they unleash holy hell into Russia with missiles, bombs, whatever. They won't invade. But if they just unleash something where Putin has no chance to respond, that is always a possibility. So we got to pray that doesn't happen. Apollyon, Charlie Kirk video was entitled New State and Play That Can Flip the Elections. Huh, okay, I'll check that out later. Al Rogalin, piss Diddley going to be squealing like a pig. He is. He's a squealer. I always know the squealers. And that, my friends, is a squealer. Diddy's definitely a squealer and Big Mike stand by. Oh, we got to go there? I don't want to go there. That's not fun for me. That's just not fun for me. So if you're worried about the North Carolina stuff, look, this is the kind of stuff that's important. It's one thing to look at poll by poll because, quite frankly, Trump's down in some of them. So if we look poll by poll, it can look scary. It can. I'm not going to lie. And we don't know poll to poll what it means. We just don't. How much are they rigging the polls? How much are they lying? Are they being accurate this time? Because they can be. We don't know. What we do know is historical context. And historical context says that Trump is always underpolled. He always overperforms his polls every single time significantly. So if we take an aggregate and it's closer than it's been in the past, we can assume pretty strongly, I'd say with 90% accuracy, that he's going to be underpolled again and he's going to overperform again. So in the RCP Politics 24 Battlegrounds polling average, Trump is ahead by 0.2. Doesn't sound like a lot until you realize Biden led by 2.3 in 2020 and barely eked it out by fractions of a percentage point. And Clinton was leading by a full percentage point in 2016 and got shellacked in the Electoral College. So when you put it into context, Trump's doing quite well. And I wanted to show you guys some today. So let me pull this up because I got so many windows pulled up. I got to close some because My computer's getting a little frisky on me. I want to show you something I saw today, and I didn't actually have this planned, but now that we're talking about it, I think it's important. All right. So let's go to the RCP Real Clear Politics page here. This is Trump versus Clinton. All right. Now this is the end polls right at the end, but let's go down here and look at how it polled the entire race. I want you guys to see something here. He won this election. Final results, Clinton 2+1, but Trump electoral big one. This was the average of the polls. Okay, aggregate, not the polls themselves. The aggregate, all the polls averaged out together, had Clinton winning by 3.2. She won by 2.1. That's a big percentage miss. A 1% miss is, or 1 point miss is huge in a general election that's close. And also she ended up losing. But this is what I want you to see. See this LA Times USC tracking poll? It's the only poll that has Trump red. Okay, and all these other polls, you see most of them are over that 2-point percentage. And then let's go down. You see that? It's only ever the USC tracking poll that has him red. Every single time. LA Times. Trump is not red in any of these other polls. None of them. Finally, we got a Fox News. Let's just keep going. There's one CNN, but look at all the blue. You see that? That's how Clinton was polling. Now, this is all the way back in July. But this is how much blue we saw for so long. All right? So that tells you kind of where the polls were trending. Now, I'm going to show you what Biden's looked like in 2020. Okay, here we are. Biden, the polling on election day aggregate was 7.2. He got 4.5. That means they overpolled him by almost 3 points combined. That's massive. That's a massive polling miss. That means the pollsters sucked horribly that year. We got a +10 right here by The Economist, CNBC +7, Reuters +7, IBD got it right on the nose. Quinnipiac had Biden +11. Their last poll, Biden 11. That's 7-point miss. And they just had Trump up 1. That's a big deal. Anyways, let's go through the whole race. You ready? Tell me when you see red. Anybody? Oh, there's one. Rasmussen, September. But Trump +1. Let's keep looking for red. Holy smokes, guys. They didn't give Trump a chance this entire race. Oh, here's some back in February. So from February forward, there's one poll the entire time that showed Trump in the red, and it was a +1 by Rasmussen in September. And after that, all blue. You see that? All right. Now, Trump barely lost that race. Lost. Quote unquote lost. He beat Clinton. And there was, 3 reds, but they were all the same poll, except for one Fox News poll. All the other polls were red. Okay? Or, were blue. Except for the USC poll. All right? That was it. Now, let's do right now. This is Trump Kamala. Right now, it's at 2 points. Just below where Clinton ever polled and way below Biden. Now, let's look at all the red. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Look at that. Now, we were not going to go back before Biden. This is all just Kamala, okay? So since Kamala entered the race, still all that red. That's a big difference. It is a massive difference. One of the reasons it's a massive difference is because not only is there more red, there's a lot closer polls here. You don't see any +10s, do you? You don't see any +12s. All right. It's people are pulling out. Here's a New York Times. Here's a Rasmussen. Rasmussen's a lot of them. But then we got Atlas Intel, the most accurate pollster of 2020. Okay. We have a CNN down here. We have a Wall Street Journal, a New York Times. I mean, Harvard Harris, CNBC, Harris X. Lots of polls that have found that Trump wins at one point. So my point is this. The polling is way better. And listen, I don't trust the polls. I've told you, they miss big. They always underestimate Trump by a lot. 3 points on aggregate in 2020. A full 1.2 points in 2016, and he won that one. Here we have the polling, which is, I guarantee you, they're underpolling Trump. And you guys are like, I get it, but they're going to steal it. Do you realize how hard it was for them to steal that last election? They barely squeaked it out, and everything was going their way, including the fact the polls were able to skew Biden into the double digits. That's how much they were able to cheat last time. That's how much they were able to maneuver things. You don't think they're trying to maneuver it now? And yet they can barely do it? I mean, that's, my friends, that is wild. That is absolutely wild. Here, let's bring in the general right here, who's in jail right now. Steve Bannon. I love me some Bannon. He says, Harris has peaked. Momentum's on our side. This is the time to capitalize it. That's the storm right here. Oh my God. Tammy in San Diego with the $300 donation. Oh my gosh. Tammy, that's amazing. Are you serious? That is, wow. Thank you so much. I'm speechless. That is incredible. Thank you. Wow. Listen, that means the world to me. Thank you so much. I don't even know what else to say, but wow. You're welcome. I'm going to keep doing this every night. I'm going to keep fighting for us. That's, I don't, wow. That's, you're making me emotional. That's incredible. That's by far the largest donation I've ever received. Thank you. That means a lot, Tammy. It really does. Wow. Thank you. Thank you very much. We are going to win this, and I'm going to be here as much as I can, paving the way what I can and what I see so we can do this. And that, Tammy, is what I can pledge to you. I'm going to fight like hell to see us cross this finish line. So thank you so much. Wow. Wow. Anyways, whew. MT Promises says Trump will beat the steal this time. I completely agree with that. Blake Eister says, see a red this November, fall by day one. Bye-bye, Gary Gensler, 100%. Shogun, you late, son. Deep T Joshi says, logic says Trump should win, but with the bias in media reporting, very difficult to say who to trust. I agree with you. That's why I'm not trusting the media. I'm trusting the data. That's why I'm doing it. Is that real, Vinman? There's a manhunt underway for U.S. Marshals for Fannie Willis's Nathan Wade? Wow, that's crazy. Blake Eiser, has anyone be polled before? How do they even do this? What a joke. That is true. Most people do not get polled. Do you know that most pollsters have about 1,000 to 5,000 people that they poll continuously, and they just keep hitting back? Hey, let's go back to our pool of 5,000. We'll hit another 1,000 today. And that's what they do. They just keep going back to the same. Not the best pollsters, but the majority of them do that. PC3 says Biden received 15 million more votes than Hillary, and 27 million more were counted in 2020 versus 2016. Nothing to see here, 100%. We don't even have to, you don't have to convince me, sir. That is 100% true. She's blessed to be a blessing, says yes to one. Amen. Midnight after the election, you still going to cover current events and economy? Find my channel will be better than watching the news. Midnight, that is like one of the greatest compliments you could ever give me. Yes, I love doing this. Guys, I've always loved doing my channel. And listen, I'm not done, but I'm going to take a second here. I still have more I want to go through. Listen, I love doing this channel, and I've always loved doing it, even when I was mostly doing stocks. But the stock thing was accidental. I covered a couple things I believed in, and those videos blew up, and then I kept talking about them, and that's what people wanted. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to give them what they want. But obviously, the news on those things faded. I still believe in them. I still believe in GTII as a chance. I still very much believe in Finger and DJT. So the main stocks I promoted and talked about, I still believe in. But there's not much news there. And also, this is what I truly love to talk about: current events, politics, the economy, and you know, and then on the other side, I love talking about the spiritual stuff, theology, and sports. I really love sports. Well, especially football and basketball. But anyways, but I just talk. I love talking. But yes, I will continue. Midnight, thank you so much for asking me and for wanting me to continue. I'm going to do this as long as I can. I love doing it, and I feel like I've always understood the news. I've always understood how to read it, and I just understand how things work in our country. And it's just a gift, and it comes with a lot of research and stuff that's built that up as well. And I've always just been good at research. So I'm going to keep going, Midnight, even after. I'll tell you what, though, when Trump wins this election, I'll probably take a little break. I'm going to need to recover. I'm tired, but I can't stop now. We are in the sprint to win this. It's not going to, we can't let up now. Foot's on the gas, and I'm seeing it through. And I will go until my gas tank is empty. And then I'll still find a little fumes left to run on to win this, to will Trump across the finish line as much as I can. Even if my impact is small on this little channel, I will fight until the very end. And even if it helps the teeniest bit, it's worth it. Donna, does anyone know how many states are using Dominion voting machines? I don't think it's very many now, and the vast majority of them are blue states. So I don't know if any red states are still doing it. Hobbs, if Trump wins between November 6th to January 20th, will feel like forever. It will, and it's going to be a fight like hell. It's going to be a fight like hell to get him across that finish line. But we're going to do it. We're going to do it. And speaking of the data, by the way, guys, hey, give Tammy's post a couple more likes there just to love on her, because that's the most generous. I mean, people have given to me before, and lots of you guys, you members are part of this channel. You guys support me. I really appreciate it. You make it possible that I can do this much content, because the fact is it takes a lot of time. And if there was no money coming in from it at all, my wife would kill me. So you guys make it possible that I can do this, along with a full-time job and everything else I do in my life. Be a dad, to 6 kids, a loving husband, everything I can try to do. But you guys make it possible that I can be here as much as I am. So thank you. And Tammy is the biggest donation I've ever received on the channel during a live. So thank you, Tammy. So make sure she feels the love for that. Okay. Speaking of data, look at this. Democrats in Pennsylvania approach the 2024 election with the slimmest voter registration advantage in decades. In decades. Unbelievable. And this is what I mean by the data. So when you say we can't trust the media, I completely agree with you. If you're listening to the left, obviously they're talking up Kamala, except for my data head, Harry Anton, who I shared last night. He can't help himself. He got to speak the truth because he likes the numbers too much. But everybody else lying through their teeth about how well Kamala's doing. On the right, a lot of them I think are pretty honest, but you're going to hear either cockiness or blackpilling. Oh, Trump's just, I don't think we can pull this off. Or you're going to hear, man, we should have gone with DeSantis. We're stuck with Trump. Let's see if we can do this. Or at least we can go for the Senate and the House. And that's what you're going to hear from the right a lot. And so, yeah, you can't trust the media. There's some people you can trust. I think you can trust Tucker Carlson. I think you can trust, who else? There are others just off the top of my head. I think you can trust like Tim Pool. So there are people you can trust to listen to. Charlie Kirk, I think, is good. I don't listen to him, but I think he's got good stuff. I've liked everything I've seen from him. So, but you're right. But you can trust the data, and the data says the Republicans are in the best position in this election that they've been since the 80s, since Reagan, 84. And in fact, you could argue that the Republicans are in a better position because in the 80s, Reagan never got the Republicans to win the House. He won the presidency, the massive landslide in 84, strong win in 80, but he never won the House. the Democrats held the House the whole time Reagan was president. And imagine how much more he would have gotten done if that wasn't so. So Trump right now has Republicans fever in the nation. It's MAGA fever. Republicans, I showed you guys in Gallup the other night, they have the largest lead they've ever had in Gallup going back to like the 40s. Okay, as far as who people identify as. The voter rolls are completely flipping. We've gained 500,000 registered Republicans compared to Democrats in Pennsylvania since 2016. 500,000. That's massive. And the thing is like any Democrat who is moderate, on the fence, conservative Democrat, they're done. They don't want to be called Democrats anymore. So they're flipping back over and identifying themselves, and we're growing all the time. So the data tells the truth. The data tells us what's really happening. The one thing the data doesn't tell us is how far ahead we are, or how much they would need to cheat and they're capable of cheating to win this. That's what it doesn't tell us. But it might not need to. It might not need to, because I think we're going to be far enough ahead. But doesn't mean they're not going to try. You guys see this? Elon Musk posted this. They're importing voters. It's obvious. With election looming, the U.S. is approving citizenship applications at the fastest speed in years. Now, this is not as scary as it looks. Now, why? Well, for one thing, there's not nearly as many illegals in line legally as there is illegally. That's just true. For another, even if they're moving them fast through, it's not going to be enough to affect the election. It's just not. They still have to do the paperwork. They still have to go through the system. So the government system, it's like if you go to the DMV and instead of waiting 3 hours, you're only waiting 2 hours and 15 minutes. And that's fast. That's government fast. So this doesn't worry me, but it does show you what they're trying to do. And we all knew it, but this is just how blatantly obvious they are. They don't even care about trying to hide it. Sliver says, oh, he's laughing at that. Okay. Midnight. I know I can come here and get reliable information. Saves you so much time for having to research everything yourself on top of what you research for work. Well, Midnight, then I'm glad I can be of service for you. I really am. Because I like this stuff. It's fun for me. Johnson will not allow the SAFE Act through. What now? XRQ, nothing changed. If the SAFE Act had passed, we would have guaranteed won the election in a massive landslide. Without it passing, we're still going to win the election strongly. It's just that means that we're in the same place we've been. That's all. It didn't stop anything. Pollyanna, are we building our DJT position now that it's cheap? It'll run when he wins. I believe that. Now, I'm not telling anybody to buy, because look, I'm not even allowing myself to believe and think about Kamala winning. I just can't. It's too bad for our country. I am going all in on Trump to win this, and I am believing, and everything I'm seeing points to him winning. And so I can't even allow myself to go to the black pill place of him losing. I just will not do it. I refuse to do it. You know what Trump believes? He believes in, like, you speak out positivity and you speak what you intend to do, and then you make it work. And I'm doing that with this election. So even though the data says that, and if he didn't have a shot, if he was losing, I would be honest with you guys, but he's not. And he has to win this election, and he is winning this election. And so we are going to make sure we will it across the cheat. Because the one thing we don't know is how much they're capable of cheating. But I don't believe it's as much as they used to be able to do. I just don't. The data does not allow for that. The data says it's impossible. That if Trump is ahead by 2 to 3 points, it's impossible. They can't steal it. That's what the data says. And I'm believing that data. And so I'm not even going to allow myself to not believe the data or to think negatively. But all that being said, if I believe there's a 99% chance Trump wins, you got to allow that 1% of preparation, which means, only go in on DJT if you really feel, that strong about him winning for that reason you just spoke. Rumdog, you think you need a new hairstylist? Yesterday she's hung up on the tariff she'll need to pay. What? Oh my God. I'll just say there's a reason she's cutting hair. Wow. That's wild. People don't even know what tariffs are. That's so funny. Johnson's a huge disappointment, Don. I agree with you. Absolutely agree with you. Benny Johnson's good too. Yeah. Hobbs, Nate Silver now says Kamala 55-44. 2 weeks ago, he had Trump at 65. That's totally fine, Hobbs. That does not mean anything. Okay? Listen, Nate Silver is I've told you guys the Nate Silver story. Okay? I've told you guys the Nate Silver story. Let's go to Nate right now. Does he have his latest map up? I don't think he does, but okay, here it is. All right. So here's his map. His chart of where they've moved. So Nate Silver, I've told you guys this. He was so wrong in 2016 and 2020. In 2016, he had Clinton at a 80% chance of winning. So, I mean, I'm telling you, 538 is his site before he left Hack. Okay. I brought up Nate Silver for one reason before, because the only time Nate Silver is news, because he is a left-wing partisan hack, the only time he's news is when he's saying Trump will win. Because when he's saying Trump will win, he's telling everybody, he's telling the left, guys, wake up. We're going to lose this if we don't get it together. But now, so he was saying that for a long time, even with Kamala. Well, this makes no sense right here. And let me tell you why it makes no sense that he changed. Two of the biggest left-wing polls that had the biggest leads for Biden and Clinton and were way off. Two of the biggest hack polls that nobody trusts, Quinnipiac and CNN, just came out with Trump in the winning position. Quinnipiac had Trump +1. CNN had it tied. If they have those numbers, that means Trump is way up. That means Trump should be at 65, 70% in this, because that, my friends, anything under 3%, if Kamala can't win the popular vote by 5% or more, or let's say 4.5%, because that's what Biden won. If she needs 4.5% or more to win the Electoral College. That's a huge undertaking. So if Kamala's +1, if it's tied, if it's +2, she loses. And Nate Silver, being a total hack left-winger, had Trump up here when those polls weren't even that good for him, and now has flipped it even when the polls have gotten tighter. It makes no sense. So Nate Silver is a total hack. And so it's not news again with Nate unless he crosses these streams again, which I don't think he will hitting into the election. I really don't think he will. He's got to make his people happy and make them think they're winning. That's what they're going to do. How's Virginia looking? Virginia's going to be very interesting. Virginia should not be won by Trump, according to the recent past. However, Virginia's showing signs. It's showing signs that maybe it'll change. You got Republicans currently outnumbering Democrats by 3-1 in low propensity voters. Let me tell you why that matters. For every election and time memoriam, as long as anybody can remember, until 2016, the Democrats won low propensity voters, which is people who don't vote as much. They don't pay as much attention. They don't like to vote. They're disenfranchised. They don't come out to vote, except for they used to do it every once in a while for a Democrat. Why? Because the Democrat would promise them stuff. And so they'd show up. Trump changed all that, but he didn't change it by that much until in 2020, it started getting a little bit further ahead. And in 2024, it's huge. And you see right here, Voted in 0 of last 4 elections, Republicans have a 3-1 edge. Voted in 1 of the last 4 elections, they're up by 500. These are small numbers. But the low propensity vote is coming out strong Republican, which is a very good sign for Trump in Virginia, because Virginia is also more of a blue elitist state. And it says this is a trend continuing for Republicans, one that the longer it goes on, the more of a red flag it is, not just for Democrats for hope for Virginia to reproduce Biden 2020 margins, but it may indicate rural enthusiasm among white working class voters in other battlegrounds. It does. If they all turn out for him in Virginia, it's going to be everywhere else. It is. Virginia is a state where all the Washington, D.C. people get rich and move to. So that's why it's been blue in recent years. But Alan says, I just said something I can't prove. What did I say that I can't prove? Are you talking to me? When you go to a barber, all you get is a cost estimate, Al? Toxic, I'm not trusting polls. I'm trusting data. But the polls do tell us something when you put it all together. Oh no, are we talking to Tim about the I don't think Tim changed any of his messaging for that money though, Toxic. So I'm watching him. He seems okay. I don't see a big issue with Toxic yet. Al, Kamal peed in her neighbor's pool and refused to admit doing it. Ew. Listen, guys. I know. Okay, so Toxic Hal, just real quick in the chat. We're just going to deal with this and end it. Toxic Hal is saying Tim Pool got money from the Russians, which by all accounts he did. It's not proven yet, but it's alleged by the DOJ, and then Lauren Chen disappeared and all this stuff happened. So there's possibility it's true. Tim didn't know he was getting that money, or where he didn't know where he was getting it from. And Tim didn't change his messaging at all. I've been listening to Tim a long time. I wasn't all of a sudden like, Tim, this is different from you. None of that happened. And there was no stipulations for that money. So it doesn't matter. Okay. The money Tim got, Benny Johnson got, none of it matters, except for if they prove it's some Russian guy who is, then they can say, oh, he was promoting conservative media. Okay. But it doesn't matter if they didn't change their message. So, and we have no proof that happened. So Toxic, it's a non-starter. I've already covered this. Jordan, did I talk about the anti-aircraft missile? Oh yeah, we're going to get to that. All right. So here's another thing that tells me that Trump's pretty feeling good. Okay. He's feeling pretty good right now. Let's listen to him right here. I don't know. Some of you guys probably already heard this, but.
And Nancy Pelosi has a little problem because her husband sold their Visa stock. They had a lot of Visa stock one day before Visa was announced that Visa is being sued by the Department of Justice. Think of that. Nancy Pelosi sold vast amounts of Visa stock one day before the big lawsuit that we all read about a few days ago was brought against Visa. You think it was luck? I don't think. She should be prosecuted. Nancy Pelosi should be prosecuted for that.
You think Trump's maybe feeling himself right now? He's out there calling for the prosecution of Nancy Pelosi before the election. That's not something you do to swing votes because nobody cares that much as far as the voting. People have already chosen their sides. This is something you say when you're confident you're going to be in a position of strength here soon. Because what is this going to do? It's going to invite furor. It's going to invite anger. It's going to invite maybe more attacks. Because Nancy Pelosi might just be, she's not the most powerful person in the Democrats. That would be Obama behind the scenes, the Clintons, yada, yada, yada. That's the power brokers of the Democratic Party. But Pelosi's up there. She's right there. And so when you're going after top 5, top 10 Democrat right there, you're saying, hey, I'm putting you on notice. That's what this is. This is Trump putting them on notice. Because there's no way in hell the DOJ right now will investigate Pelosi. There's no way in hell. But what is he doing? He's saying, get ready, guys. I'm coming. This is not a message to us, because we all want this anyways. This is a message to them. So we got the foreign leaders. We got the foreign leaders contacting him, with Zelensky writing him letters about how he wants peace. And now we got Trump balling up and saying, hey, Pelosi, I know all about this. I'm looking right at you, and I'm going to be there soon. Are you ready? He is constantly warning them about what's coming if they get in. All right, that's what he's continually doing. Remember when he said, if you commit election fraud, you're going to jail? He is putting them all on notice. Guys, look at everything. This is what Trump's saying to them. Look at, you guys see everything? You guys see what's happening right now? I'm not losing this election. You guys chose a moron. She's losing all her support. I'm gaining strength. Check it out. Do you see what I'm doing? So, I'm just going to put it out there. Do you really want to go for that election fraud when you know I'm probably going to win? Do you really want to take the chance? Do you want to bet on a loser? You bet on a loser, you're going to end up behind bars. Hey, Nancy, call off your dogs because I'm coming for you. That's what he's saying. He can't say that stuff publicly. He can't say what he really wants to say publicly, but he can hint at it. There's no gain here for votes. There's no gain electorally for him here. We all know, just like Alan just said, we all know Pelosi's an insider trader. Unusual Whales calls it out all the time. We all know this stuff. All right? And so because we know that, he doesn't need this. But he's telling her, Nancy, hey, Nancy, you guys going to steal this election? Try me. Hey, Nancy, you guys trying to kill me? Watch this. Because I'm coming for you now. I'm putting you on notice. I guarantee you Nancy saw this and she got flustered and terrified and angry all at once. She knows. And they know, guys, they see the internal polling. You don't act the way they act if you know you're winning. Kamala Harris doesn't call for another debate if you know you're winning. You don't do that. You're terrified. They know he is too big to rig. They know it. And they are freaking out. And they are throwing everything out there. Kamala, Kamala, Kamala. Why do you think she's all of a sudden doing so many interviews? Why do you think they sent out Oprah to puff piece her up? They are so scared. They're going to be even more scared next Tuesday when J.D. Vance wipes the floor with Walsey Palsy, Baby Shrek. XRQ, will the compromising info tapes by Diddy and Epstein be released before the election? Our so-called white hats in charge. I don't know. I don't necessarily go that far in believing things. I don't know if they're in charge or controlling things. I don't know any of that stuff. I can tell you I highly doubt we'll get anything Epstein before Trump's in. Highly, highly doubt it. We might get whispers from Diddy. We might. But I also think that might be put off as well. What might happen instead is just little leaks here and there. That's probably more likely what we'll see. But as far as like flat out seeing everything, I highly doubt it. If we get Epstein list or Diddy list, it will end the election that day for the Democrats. It will. Midnight, hearing Trump say that makes me so happy. I want to bake cupcakes for my office. Joe Avarlo, she was responsible for January 6th. She was. Yep, 100%. And that's provable now. Cassing, did I see Trump exonerated by General Milley for J6? I did, yeah. I know, Shogun, right? Midnight gives me membership. She's not giving me, but if she wants to send out some cupcakes, Midnight, you good baker? I'm excited to see how this goes. All right, check this out. Biden just admitted Kamala Harris has been president for a long time. Joe Biden says he delegated everything to Kamala Harris, foreign policy to domestic policy. This is from Breitbart. President Joe Biden said Wednesday he delegated everything as Commander-in-Chief to Vice President Kamala Harris, including foreign policy and domestic policy. Acknowledgement is significant because it contradicts Harris's talking points. My approach is about new ideas. Ha 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 ha. New policies directed at current moment. Also, to be honest with you, my focus is very blah, 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 blah. I can't even read it. It's terrible. I'm obviously not Joe Biden. I'm trying to do her like wino voice. And, you know, I offer a new generation of leadership. Yeah, even though he told me to do everything. I can't, even pretending to be here for a minute, I feel like the devil's on my shoulder. Gross. But this is big. Okay. If this is real, and Breitbart's pretty good. I like Breitbart. If this is legit, then it means Kamala's been running the show, which, you know what? Would any of us be surprised at that? That Kamala and Jill have been the real president for the last 3.5 years? No, not even a whiff. So this is getting out there now. I'm telling you, things are getting spicy. We are seeing more and more fun stuff that's just really bad for Kamala. Midnight, your jokes get rough at times. Your girl next door. That's all right. Alan says, Diddy has an insurance policy, an island in the Caribbean. Check his flight. Island? Are you talking about Epstein's island? You're a good cook? Oh, man. I want some cupcakes. He completely threw Kamala on her bus. Jill's driving the bus. That is true. Yeah. Brett, I see Hota Katibi. I don't know what that is. Clearing the way for Kamala's new job in Good Morning America. Good Morning Kamala America. It starts at 3 p.m. I like that. That's nice. That's nice. Jill and Obama run the show. Yeah, Obama is running it through Kamala is what I'm thinking. All right. This is Rich Baris reacting to the Marist poll. Now, the Marist poll is known to be one of the, it's like Quinnipiac. It's one of the most hardcore Democratic polls. And they just came out with her down in the battleground states. And Rich Baris, the best pollster analyst in the world, in my opinion, says, oh my God, Harris down the Marist poll, which has overstated Dem support in darn near every swing state over the last 2 presidential cycles. It may be every state, in fact. Here's the new Marist poll, swing state. Trump won, Georgia won, North Carolina tied. Now, it doesn't sound like a lot, except for the fact Marist, so Georgia and Arizona, Biden barely pulled off. I think it was under a percentage point in Arizona and just over a percentage point in Georgia. North Carolina, Trump won by 1.3. This Marist poll had Trump down in these states anywhere from 3 to 6 points, depending on when it came out. So the point is they always trend, and so it's a big deal that they show Trump winning at all in these states. Just more stuff, guys. Now, let's get to this. Somebody brought this up earlier, but I'm ready to talk about it now. All hands on deck, Americans. Intelligence. Now, this isn't just Ann Vandersteel. There's been multiple sources now, but intelligence from the southern border that 9 surface-to-air missiles have been smuggled in the U.S. across the New Mexico border. Intended target Trump Force One. Now, I'm not a person who likes to jump on these stories all the time because they're wild. These are wild stories, and sometimes you can't trust them. But Ann Vandersteel's pretty reliable. And I've seen it multiple places now. And then we've also seen Trump almost killed twice already. So this is very believable. Unconfirmed possible Iranian origin. Now that's something that I struggle believing, that Iran's got this plot to assassinate Trump. Unless the neocons and the Democrats have a workaround with Iran to sneak this stuff in and try to get Trump killed working with Iran. Now that's something that's completely plausible, but I don't believe Iran's doing this on their own. Members of Congress been captured standing next to members of the cartel taking pictures. Isn't that wild? I want to see those pictures. Speculated. An operation of this size would require insider help. What did I just say? Upper-level management, perhaps the intel community and or DOJ. Sinaloa cartel is the only known organization capable of facilitating an operation of this scope. 45 team knows Trump tweeted about it, and there's the other reason I believe it. Big threats on my life by Iran. This Trump. The entire U.S. military is watching, waiting. Moves were already made by Iran that didn't work out. They will try again. Not a good situation for anyone. I'm surrounded by more men, guns, and weapons I've ever seen before. Thank you to Congress for unanimously approving far more money to Secret Service. 0 no votes. Strictly bipartisan. Attack on a former president is a death wish for the attacker. Now, they have two plays in this. Okay. One, they get rid of Trump, which is their best case scenario. That's what they want. Two, they get an excuse to start a major war. And that is their backup plan. That's the next thing they want to happen, to try to push off the election. And even if Trump gets in, to have this war triggered, that so if he gets in, they still can present him with a failing economy and World War III and be like, good luck. Fix this one. And they feel like they can win by just ruining Trump's presidency and maybe clean up the bits after. None of that's going to happen. Trump's way too smart for that. Trump puts out stuff like this, and it makes it sound like, oh, maybe we're getting him. Maybe we're getting to him. We're getting him to change his anti-war stance, because they really don't like that he's anti-war. They don't. That's where a lot of their money comes from and their control. They don't like that. And so they're like, maybe we can get him to say it. So he puts out this tough rhetoric. An attack on a former president is a death wish for the attacker. So he's putting on notice two people here. The cartels, which I think he really means. I would not be shocked if Trump gets in and we wipe out the cartels. I would not be shocked. We do it through secret ops and, drone strikes. I would not be shocked at all if Trump takes out the cartels at all. It won't be a war. It'll just be clean and easy. But the other thing is, we're not going to war with Iran. Trump will never do that. But he's putting this out there. And in my opinion, Trump's saying this because he knows, if I say this, this is exactly what they want me to say. But I won't act on it once I'm in. But it eases just a little bit of that pressure on the neocon side. And smart. It's smart by him to go that strong. So if this is true, though, this is crazy. Now, obviously it got caught, which is good. But how much more is out there? That's the question. I had somebody ask me today, what happens if Trump dies? What if they get him? First of all, horrific. It'll destabilize our country because, in my opinion, 57% of adults or so around there are on Trump now, maybe even in the 60s. It is so far Trump. And the only reason this election is going to be close is because of all the fake ballots. But so it'll destabilize a lot. But here's the good part. And it's not good, but it's a silver lining. That if that happens, what I think happens next is that J.D. Vance moves to the top of the ticket and Kennedy becomes VP. Or they switch it. Maybe Kennedy goes to top of the ticket and Vance becomes VP. I do think it'll be them together. And I think they win on a landslide. I think Trump's death brings over 2 to 3% more votes because of the sympathy vote. And you'll get a lot of Democrats who are like, I'm out, and they just won't vote. But it'll gin up the base even more, and it'll bring a lot more people out to vote. That's just how it'll work. So we'll still win the election. We'll get in, and I think with Kennedy and Vance in, we'll get a lot done. And it'll still be better, and we'll still be repealing the deep state, and a lot of good will happen, maybe 90 to 95% of all the good that would happen if Trump's in. But it definitely will be a setback in many ways. It'll be painful. It'll uproot a lot of the country. It'll cause a lot of destabilization, probably lead to riots and stuff. And there'll be a lot of bad stuff that happens if he goes down. But the trend of the country, I think, we win, and it still moves in that direction. And that's what I see. And listen, history proves me right on this. We don't have a lot of history in an election year of a candidate dying. But we have Kennedy and Johnson. When Kennedy died, Johnson wasn't running. Kennedy was young, and Johnson took over for, a year and a half. But that next election with Johnson, he won in a landslide. He crushed it. And a lot of that wasn't because people liked Johnson. Lyndon B. Johnson was so unpopular, he didn't even run the next time he could run. He backed out. He knew he was going to lose. No, he was not popular, but he won the sympathy vote, because people did love JFK. And that's what I think will happen with, and I think it'll be Kennedy and Vance who step up. So it'll be horrible. It'll be very bad for our country, but it won't be the end of the world and won't be the end of our movement. In fact, it'll spur it. It'll add new life to it in a way. After our mourning, we'll get stronger. Alan Grant says the day he flew from LA to Miami, then to an island in the Caribbean. Oh, that was last year. Yeah, I remember that. If that was me, my copies would be out of the U.S., my insurance policy. I get what you're saying. When Diddy flew to the Caribbean last year, when he first got in trouble, you think he dropped off a lot of stuff. Maybe. But it says he's willing to talk, so I don't know. Right here, Hodge twins. I love these guys. And I don't usually post them because they don't share a lot of information usually. They're usually just out there trolling people, which is great. But this is a good post. Telling y'all right now, this 2024 energy is different than 2020. Kamal's team's lost all momentum. They know it. People are done with the BS. Turnout for Trump will be historic. I agree with this. And that's why I wanted to share it. And I've told you guys this. You can feel the difference. If you get past the black pill, some of you haven't. And it's okay. I understand. 2020 was devastating. You're still traumatized. I get it. Wake up. It's time. It's time to go for the future again. It's time to fight again. Get the fight back in you and stop thinking we're doomed. It's time to wake up. The black pill has to go away. Guys, the energy is different this time. We have what we need to win. Not everything's perfect. That's not what I'm saying. It's still a fight. But we have a big lead and we have everything we need to win. We have all the right tools, all the right people on our side. We have the right message and we have all the momentum. So we win this if we don't stop. And that's just a fact in my eyes. If I'm proven wrong on election night, after I get over my depression in 3 or 4 months, I don't know, maybe I'll delete my channel or something. I don't know. Because this is obviously the most all-in I've ever been on anything, is that Trump's going to win this. And, so we'll see what happens. And the way I'll know he lost is he concedes. If he concedes after a Kamala vote in and they declare winning and Trump concedes and I know it's over, yeah, it's going to be tough. And I don't know what I'll do. But I'm not even going to think about that right now because that's not what's going to happen. We're going to do this. The energy is different. 2020, guys, I don't know if you remember. Most of us forgot 2020. Most of us want to forget 2020. But when Trump was running in 2020, it was miserable. It was miserable. COVID slowed everything down. We had the George Floyd riots. It was just like hell on earth. Well, okay, that's something no American should ever say, unless they've live in a very rough area. It was rough though. It was rough because it was all the news was horrible. We were all stuck at home or at least limited in what we can do unless you were in Florida or South Dakota. It just wasn't fun. And the whole country was masked or unmasked or vaxxed or unvaxxed. I mean, that came later, but still, you guys know what I mean. It was misery. And the whole fight with Trump, even though I still believe he actually won that election, but one way or the other, the fact is a lot of people were also angry at Trump for COVID. They blamed him for it, unrightfully so, in my opinion. He really blamed the blue governors and Fauci. But anyways, they blamed him for it. And so he didn't get the push he would have had. There was the excitement just wasn't there. He couldn't get the rallies. He couldn't get the momentum going because of COVID. It just wasn't the same. It was more of, we got to just vote. We just got to vote for Trump. He got way more votes than the first time, so he obviously still did something right. But it just didn't have that same feel of, oh, we're doing this. It didn't have that same feel. It had a, we have to do this feel. This time it's, we have to do this, but there's also, we're going to do this because we are ready for this fight. We're ready. We've prepared. We're doing it. And that's where we're at. And listen, I've been around a lot of elections, not nearly as much as some of you guys, Al Roglin, Thomas Dubois, some of you old folks, but I turned 41 next week. I'm not that young, but I've been around enough to know what it feels like. When you head into these seasons, you kind of know deep inside usually what's going to happen for the most part, or at least you have a sense you could lose. In 2020, I had a sense I really believed Trump was going to win. I really wanted him to win, but I had a sense that things just weren't right. And I was, and then 2016, I knew Trump was going to win. The energy was there. Clinton is a loser. I knew it. 2012, I wanted Romney to win. I hoped he'd beat Obama, and now I'm kind of glad he didn't, because we never would have gotten Trump. But deep down, we all knew Obama was going to kick his ass. 2008 wasn't even close. I mean, nobody thought McCain was going to win. 2004, the opposite. We all knew Bush was going to win. Kerry's a terrible candidate. There was no energy behind Kerry at all. There was manufactured energy. And I'll tell you right now, this election right now feels a lot like 2004. It really does. Kerry, they pulled a corpse out of nowhere. Nobody liked John Kerry. He wasn't a big deal in the Democratic Party, and somehow he became their candidate. Okay, he Frankenstein. And it was like Bush had momentum. He had a good economy at the time. I can't stand George Bush. I hate that I voted for him. I hate that I used to support him. But at the time, I was voting for him. And he had all the energy. Everything was breaking his way. The only thing they had was they just kept trying to manufacture and kept trying to throw attacks at him that just bounced off. And Trump has that feel right now, except even more so. And in a much, much cleaner way. In fact, much more exciting way in many ways. But it has similar feel to it. But the difference this time, too, is that Trump has the outsider advantage because Kamala's been in charge the last 3.5 years. And that's also where some of this good energy comes from. We know the suffering's about to stop. And so, the suffering as far as how stupid our government is about to stop. But anyways, it just, that's why I shared this, because the energy is definitely different. And part of it is stuff like this. I mean, look at this. Majority of voters, including a majority of Democrats, suspect January 6th of being a Fedsurrection. I like that word there they put. When did the crooked and despicable DC judges go to jail? I mean, look at this. This is huge. Right here. At the bottom. How likely is it undercover government agents helped provoke the Capitol riot? Total voters, 39% or 22%. Somewhat likely or very likely. Democrats, 34% and 23%. So that's 57 total percent of Democrats think undercover government operatives helped on J6. Republicans, much more based, we're at 70%, which that's still far too little. I don't know what Republicans out there think J6 was legit. But anyways, this is the kind of stuff that changes the narrative, changes the energy. Cartels have serious artillery. I believe it, but not compared to the U.S. government or U.S. military. Thomas Dubois, Trump 2024. Yep. Randy, 2022 is supposed to be a red wave. Yes and no. There was belief that it would be, but the fact is the polling never showed that. It just didn't. And so anyways, I'm not going to get into 2022 right now, but there's actually, that's actually a false narrative. I think a lot of that narrative was pushed in order to discourage us when the real results came in. Shogun, I think when Trump gets in, we'll be in martial law because the immigrants in Colorado, or they will cause more chaos. I don't think we'll be in martial law. No, I don't. For one thing, listen, I know what all the worst case scenarios are. World War III, a nuke, Trump dying, immigrants rioting to the point we need martial law. I know what all the worst case scenarios are that people are assuming and people are scared of. I get it. I get all of them. I don't think any of them are going to happen. I really do not. I do think there's going to be pockets of places that get crazy or bad things happen. I do believe that. But I believe, for the most part, most of these things aren't going to happen. For one thing, history says they don't happen. Okay? History says they don't happen very often at all, especially in a country that has a system as strong as ours. Guys, from the inside, we have not faced our country being in this bad a place. And so it's rough, and we know it. But we're smart enough to catch it early. Other countries that have been completely destabilized, they still look at us and they're like, we could see you guys getting there, but you're not there yet. And that's the truth. So I think that I don't think we're going to go there. I really don't. I'm not that worried. I think we're going to have an election. I think it's going to happen. I think it's going to go through. And then I think there's going to be a major push politically. There might be some riots here and there, but I don't think it's going to be nationally. The red states, guys, are way too strong. I just don't see that happening. There's too many red states that are too fierce right now, fiercely led by strong governors and stuff like that to let that happen. I just don't see it happening. What happened in NC in the governor's race? The governor got busted for some dumb stuff he did 20 years ago, 30 years ago. Alan, more than likely this will be your last election. Father Time's catching up to you. You have nothing to lose. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Alan. How old are you? Are you so old you don't think you'll have another election? Al, I'm still a pup. I'm enjoying it. Big B, see the energy that way too. Nobody's doing well under this administration on either side. Agree. Thomas, exactly. Stella, you need to declare martial law, arrest those involved in the coup or 4 more years of Trump. Well, yeah, I agree. I mean, I don't know about martial law, but I do think he should go after those. Yeah. Wind is wiping. A1A. All right. Let us know if it gets bad. 4 more years of Trump will mean 0. Arrest all those involved in the coup or 4 more years of Trump will mean 0. Will mean 0. I'm sorry. I'm confused. Red states produce the food and energy in this country. That's true, except for California still does a lot of that. At least the food, not the energy as much. But California, the breadbasket still of our nation, which is wild, but we still get a lot from there. So, okay, guys, I have a couple things I want to get to real quick that I'm going to go through fast because it's late. But I did want to share something on the side, and then I'm going to get to a couple things about the economy before we go. But I wanted to share this. I don't always share this stuff. But Sean Bowles is a man of God. I've met him. Great guy. I followed him for a long time. And he is somebody who is not perfect, but I do believe he hears from God, and he's had a lot of things I've seen come true. A lot of crazy stuff. And he posted this today, so I wanted to share it. He says, God's about to unleash confusion within the enemy's camp, leading to sudden and dramatic downfalls among political parties, corporations, entertainers, and influencers. We'll witness their influence crumble in ways unexpected and undeniable. The reason I wanted to share this is because this is exactly what I've been feeling is going to happen already. And, I think that I've been looking at the news. I've been going through my own analysis of what I feel is coming, what I see, and what I feel like in my prayer time and stuff. Just I feel like I've heard over years that this would eventually happen, and I think it's coming. I do. And so when he posted this today, I said, okay, it's here. We're starting. And I saw the stuff with Pelosi, like Trump calling out Pelosi. I saw the missiles. I saw all that. And I also felt like even before I read this post or anything the last few days, as all this craziness has been going on with the election and everything, I've just had a lot of peace. And usually I have peace when things are crazy. It's because basically there's just a sense it's all going to work out. And I just sense it. And so sometimes I could be wrong, maybe. But I'll tell you, I've never had peace like this about stuff and it been wrong before. I just haven't. But I think this is going down. I do. You see the Diddy stuff. But the other thing I think is that they aren't as strong as we think they are, just like I've kept saying. And they're not as competent as we think they are either. They have evil plans. They have a lot of power, but they're not the best at pulling it all off, especially with the people against them. And I do believe in God, and I believe he's on our side. And so for all those reasons, I thought this was a very relevant post, and I wanted to share it, as I think really good things are coming. Stella says, sorry, meaning 4 more years of Trump will change nothing if he doesn't clean things up. Oh, yeah, he will. I agree with you. Major change has, but he will. Cali produces a ton of food, pretty much poison. Well, not necessarily. They also produce the most produce in the nation. They produce, and listen, I ate in California. I lived in California. I was much healthier physically with food when I lived in California than anywhere else. California eats healthier than anywhere else I've lived. So I don't know if I agree with that statement, honestly. So, Alan, your father and mother and grandparents died at age 71. Fate, 68, 67. No, you don't have to believe that, Alan. You don't have to accept that. You can live longer than that. My grandpa is 92. Most of his brothers and sisters died in their 70s and 80s. He is the oldest by far. I think by 10 years he's the oldest. So you don't have to accept that. Don't believe that, Alan. Don't take on that belief, and you'll live longer. Okay, let's go through the economy real quick because there are some bad signs coming on, and then we're going to get out of here. AMC says 4 more years of Obama 3.0 we lose the country. I agree with that. I do. All right, here comes the panic. Citi is warning a hard landing could be imminent and force the Fed to aggressively cut rates. Here we go from Citibank. Bank said the percentage of individuals finding jobs hard to get is increasing, signaling the rise in unemployment not merely a sign of growing labor supply, but indication of weak hiring conditions. Duh. We've been through all of that. Conditions in September 2001 when the economy is already in recession. Rising difficulty in finding employment confirms rise in unemployment rate is not good news about labor supply, but a softening job market. Situations suggest hard landing could be imminent. They explain data underscores broader trend. Citi forecasts a modest addition of 70,000 new jobs in upcoming payrolls report. That would be terrible. That will push up the unemployment rate right after we got a rate cut. Get ready, guys, because if this is all true, it's going to get wild here fast in the economy, and October really could be the beginning of a crash. Choose to believe it or not, but the Fed was pushed to cut rates because of a big bank is going to bust. Or maybe it already did. They're still keeping the information secret. Interesting. Is the market pricing a Fed cut, or is a new banking crisis about to spark again? Here we go. And this is Just Dario. I recommend reading this article, guys. Just Dario is fantastic on this stuff. And so is Citibank or another big bank about to go bust? I don't know, but it was strange that we all knew Powell wanted only to do 25, and he all of a sudden decided to do 50 out of nowhere, which was shocking. It was absolutely shocking. So why panic like that? What do they know? Meanwhile, China is falling apart. China showing 2008-like signs they're on the brink of severe recession. Over the last 2 days, China has begun pandemic-level stimulus as seen during the lockdowns in 2020. Is China dragging the global economy into a recession? First signs came after China's HY real estate index fell a massive 82% in 2 years. Look at this chart. Oh, that's only the second strongest economy in the world. You don't think it's going to have an effect on us? Look at this. Interesting. That's just a couple months after Biden came in office. Whoosh. This is horrible. This is horrifying. Currently, China is facing its longest period of deflation since 1999. Not even 2008 came with 5 straight quarters of deflation. Guys, China is falling apart. They're absolutely falling apart. And you better believe this is coming here. Now, I believe if we get Trump in, we can turn it around quick. But we're going to have to go through a little hurt first. And it's coming. It's coming. This shows you that the rate cut was coming on the edge of something coming here. And they're trying to kick that can down, but they might not be able to do it. Federal Reserve appears ready to engage in repo operations to inject liquidity right before the election. Wonder what excuse they'll use this time. Here we go. Looks like functionality of Fed system handles repo operations for emergency liquidity injections being tested pretty much every day now. And these aren't small value exercises. Look at this. So here's their tests like back in the day since July. Here are June. Here's a test. There's a test. Wait a while. Big test here. And then you see all the activity going on. Why? What are they preparing for? I mean, these are massive warning signs. And it seems like it's really ramping up fast here at the end of September going into October, which, guys, What an October surprise it would be if the stock market crashes. We get some bad data in, who knows? Meanwhile, the people already believe we're done. A record 87% of Americans believe it's a bad time to buy a home, more than double the 2008 peak. Do you understand how hard it is to get 90% of Americans to agree on anything? Even during 2000, it says this is more than double. So this is like 42% in 2008. And now we're at 90%, 87% is basically 90%. 90% of people say don't buy a home right now. That's crazy. Actually, it says it right here, 40% in 2008. This is nuts, guys. The metric peaked at 79% before when interest rates were 18% in the 80s. Most pessimistic housing market in history. You think the consumer is trying to tell Wall Street something? This stuff's coming fast, guys. This is coming fast and furious. And you know, my original prediction was that we'd start seeing the crash before the election. So far, I've been wrong. But I got 5 weeks, and stuff's really starting to come out now. So, guys, get ready. Because if the economy crashes before the election, that's only going to add another 3 to 5% to Trump. That's what's going to do. They're all going to blame Biden and Kamala. They can't get away from it. So there's that. On top of that, we need to pray hard that Trump gets in, because I do think we're going to head, when this breaks, it's going to be epically ugly. And if we head into something that ugly and Kamala and Biden are in charge, it won't be Biden. Kamala and Waltz are in charge, or Obama again. It's over, guys. They're going to use that as an excuse to take away a lot of our rights, to spend a bunch of money to build the government up, double, triple its current size. It's going to be awful. And so that's how they're going to try to get us out of it. But really, that'll just make it worse and prolong it, just like Obama did in 08, 09. And so we got that going. And then if we do, but if Trump comes in and he deregulates and starts stimulating the economy, that way it goes back to capitalism, we can turn it around anywhere from a year, 18 months to 2.5 years is my belief. And then we could, but it give them a time to really rebuild a much more capitalist tone, government out of the way economy. There's people who believe that the 1929 Depression could have been turned around about 2.5 years if the government didn't intervene the way they did. If Roosevelt had not started the Great New Deal and all that, and just pumping into it and building the government so large, they really believe, and this has been, I believe it, but several economists have proven that actually extended the Great Depression. So that's not what we want. We don't want another New Deal. So, all right, guys. Alan says, check car sales, car repos on raise, credit cards delinquent. Yeah, it's going to be hard, but I do think we can do this. So, all right, guys. On that note, craziness, but let's pray and get out of here. But I hope you guys, thanks for watching. It's Thursday, so I'm going to take tomorrow off, but there'll be a members live this weekend. Watch for content, Patreon members. I'll have classes for you guys. And maybe I'll pop on tomorrow if nothing's going on and maybe some big news comes out. But yeah, they can't spend their way out this time, Alan. I completely agree with you. We have to play this one right. So anyways, let's pray and get out of here. So Heavenly Father, thank you for today. God bless everybody here. I just pray healing over Thomas and Mike and Jenny. God, that you would just help their bodies recover, and for Thomas to beat what he's going through. And Father, I just pray for this justice in our nation, and just peace and prosperity over everybody here, God, to navigate these crazy times we're in. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, guys, bless you. Have a great night and a good weekend, and I will see you all